Hello everyone, I'm Pop here. Haven't done a video in quite some time. I've been a couple of months at least. Did threaten to do one a while back and I haven't done it yet, so I figured today I would do one on the soul. The reason I want to talk about the soul is because we went to Harding University lectureship back in September, and we were on a track that was called Soul Care. I think it was 3 or 4 classes long. I can't remember how many exactly, but it was supposed to be talking about our souls and how to take care of them and so on and so forth. It was an interesting study. Some of the classes were pretty good, others were. But when you think somebody's going to talk to you about your soul, you'd think there'd be some spiritual depth to what the discussion is going to be about. Well, the first class we went to in the Soul Care series was about the soul, of course. And Jason Darden, the presenter, asked the question, what is the soul? What is your soul? And he gave it a couple of minutes and people just kind of looked around at each other, looked at the ceiling, looked at the floor. It's hard to define what the human soul really is. The Bible doesn't give us definitive answers. We just know that we have it. And a lot of people seem to think it's based in emotion and what we feel, what makes us feel good, and that kind of thing. You hear people saying all the time, well, it's good for the soul. Is it? How do you know something's good for the soul or it's not good for the soul? Anyway, after all, he gave all the time he wanted to everybody to come up with a definition of the soul. He says, let me tell you what it is. And I was like, well, let's see how groundbreaking this is going to be. He said, the soul is the principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in human beings. Listen to that again. The soul is the principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in human beings. So his definition is that the soul is the principle of our life, of our feeling, of our thought, and of our actions. Well, if you look up the definition of principle, it means guiding rule, belief, or idea. That's what a principle is. So he's saying that the human soul is either the guiding rule of our lives, the belief of our lives, or the idea of our lives. And I have to say, I was left feeling kind of flat by his definition. I definitely can't agree that our soul is merely a principle, a guiding rule, a belief, or an idea. Well, surprisingly, after the break from this class and people came back in for the next class, the group was much smaller than it had been before. I think his definition didn't settle well with a whole lot of people that were there that day. And to just bring it down to being a guiding, a rule, a belief, or an idea. That the soul is just an idea, or it's a belief. Jesus said at one point that don't fear those who can destroy the body, but fear the one who can destroy both body and soul in Gehenna. Think about that. Destroy your body and your soul. So is Jesus saying that fear the one that can destroy your body and your guiding rule and your belief or your idea? I don't think so. And to destroy something, that something has to have some substance to it, wouldn't you think? You can't destroy a guiding rule, a belief, or an idea. You really can't. You can try to tell people they can't believe this, or they can't do this, or they can't do that, and their ideas are no good, take them away. You can't take those things away. You cannot destroy those things. If that were true, then a lot of things would have been done away with in our world a long time ago. But the fact that he brought the idea of the human soul down to simply the principle of life. the principle of feeling and thought. So basically he's saying it is about our life, it's about our feelings, and it's about our thoughts, and it's about our actions. So like I mentioned earlier, some people say, well, that's good for the soul. Well, if you think about your soul in this way, then maybe it is good for your soul because it feels good. You think better about things because of an action or what's happening in your life or what you experience. But I believe soul is something much, much deeper than just simply a principle of life, just a guiding rule of belief. Now, I mean, if you look at it that way, if your soul is the principle of your life, or anyone's life, then it's merely a guiding rule. In other words, we're guided by our soul. Not by God, not by His Word, but we're guided by our soul. We're guided by the belief in the soul or the idea of the soul. On one hand, I can understand that to a degree. Our soul brings us to God. Our soul is what interacts with God. Our soul is what will be with Him forever. Excuse me. But to just bring the core, the essence of what a human being is on a spiritual level down to a mere principle, a rule of life, a belief, or an idea. There's no substance to that definition. There's no weight to it. It kind of comes down to this thing of, you've heard, I think, therefore I am. I think if you were to take this definition of a soul, it's, I think, therefore I might be, but I'm not really sure. A guiding principle, feeling and thought. I think it's more than that. I'm not going to give you the whole answer on what a soul is today. I haven't figured that out, have you? But I think it begs discussion. It begs us to think about it, meditate on it, pray about it, and consult God's Word as to what a soul really is. I just can't believe that a soul is the principle of life, of feeling, of thought, and action in each human being. God gave us the soul, and He's waged war for that soul. It's got to be more substantial than a guiding principle, a guiding rule. Doesn't really make a lot of sense for it to be that simplistic. If it is, then everybody's soul would be different. They'd have their own guiding rules, their own beliefs, and their own ideas. It would not be consistent with a God who is the creator, who creates order and not chaos. And, if you go with this definition of soul, that means whatever guides our life, whatever we believe in, whatever our ideas are, they're all equal in the sight of God. I have a problem with that. The soul is much more than that. So I will touch back on this subject periodically. I just wanted to share that. That was one thing I brought away from the lectureship that disappointed me greatly. And it was obvious that it disappointed most everybody in the room that day because the majority of them left and didn't come back. When he made his statement and he looked around the room, you could see people just looking at him, shaking their heads, going, it's more than that, my friend. But, the thing we have to realize is when we look at everything from merely an intellectual or an academic perspective, we want to bring it down to the simplest terms so that we can explain it or explain it away. And I certainly wouldn't want to explain away the human soul. But that's what I had to share with you. Just some food for thought. What is the soul? And how do we care for it? It's a blessing and a gift from God, for sure. But really, what really is the substance of our soul? God bless, and we'll talk again soon.